What's up, everyone, and welcome to the third episode from the Lions Cove podcast. I'm your host, Marcelo. Today we have a very special episode as I'm with my good friend, Michael Huss.
Thanks for having me.
Pleasure to have you on this show. Former Mayfield Wildcat. I've known him since the third grade, one of my longtime friends, star athlete throughout all of high school, and eventually made his way to play college football. So pretty impressive. He's just a great guy, great friend, and I'm very excited to have him on the show today.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, should be a great podcast. So to give Michael a proper introduction, he was a star athlete throughout high school, played 3 years of basketball, 4 years of football. 4 years, he started as a freshman playing varsity in football, and just seeing him grow throughout his career, it's awesome to be a part of his journey and to see it unfold. So let's dive into a little bit of the facts. So his best season was in 2019 with Mayfield High School, led them to a 10-0 regular season record, which is pretty impressive. Haven't had that since 1984. They went 11-1 total, and they won the Western Reserve Conference, which is pretty impressive. His senior year, he completed 61% of his passes for 2,362 yards and 28 touchdowns. He also rushed for over 200 yards and 5 touchdowns. He started 36 games, and in his total career, actually his last 2 seasons, he went 16-3. So overall, pretty impressive record. Eventually made his way to John Carroll, played 2 years there, and overall, he had an amazing career. So, yeah, great to have you on the podcast.
Yeah, happy to be here.
Awesome. All right, so let's dive into the first question. How did your football journey ultimately begin, and what drew you to the sport when you were little?
Yeah, so I first started playing in 4th or 5th grade, and my parents wouldn't let me play when I was younger because it started in Mayfield at 2nd grade, and they wouldn't let me play because they said it was too dangerous and everything. And I'm a Steelers fan. I would watch the Steelers games, and they were in the Super Bowl, and I just knew I loved football. I wanted to play ever since then. And so I would always beg my parents every year, and they'd be like, no, maybe next year. And then finally I wrote them a letter giving them a bunch of reasons why I should play, and then they finally let me play, I think 4th or 5th grade. And I started playing for the local church team, and that was really what started. I just kept writing them letters and just kept harping them about it.
Wow.
Yeah.
That it's crazy because I feel like when I was little, I would write my parents letters all the time, just why I should have this, why I should need to be able to do this and that. So so when you were little, I guess how did you find out that you wanted to become a quarterback? Because I feel like a lot of people try positions and try different areas. What drew you to the quarterback position?
Mm-hmm. I initially started playing defensive end and tight end.
Yeah.
When I first played, and then honestly, I have no idea what made the switch. Where the coaches just threw me in at quarterback one game, and it's still pretty young football, so everybody kind of gets to do their thing. But yeah, I just got thrown in at quarterback, and I was just a good athlete, so they let me run around out there, and I could throw it too. So yeah, I guess they just they were like, all right, let's keep him there.
Yeah, and also too when you were little, you played travel basketball for a few years and also played in a high school. So how did the game of football back then almost relate to basketball?
I think a lot of it when you're in middle school and younger, you're playing with the same dudes. Even in high school, you're playing with a lot of the same teammates on both teams, and you obviously just get really close with all those guys, whether it's during the football season, basketball season, or whatever you're doing in the spring. So I think that's how it really kind of came together. You were just with the same group of guys all the time, so it was really just you got to build that chemistry.
Yeah, and it's true because it was so special because we all played football together, baseball, basketball, and we all just grew up with each other. So that was a very special bond that we all had for sure.
Definitely.
So obviously you made your way through middle school. I know there was some talks, obviously, about which high school you were going to go to. I know it was Mayfield. I think Gilmore was one of them, right?
Yeah. It came down to about Mayfield, Eds, and Ignatius were the final 3, and then Ignatius Mayfield was the final 2 decision.
Wow. So what led to your decision going to Mayfield? Because being 15 or probably 14, 15 years old, that's a tough decision to make.
Mm-hmm. A lot of the kids I played up with through middle school, because I was playing for a local church team, they all had their parents went to parochial schools, and a lot of those kids were going to end up going to either Eds or Ignatius. And so like that's what kind of got my interest. And the coaches would always come to the CYO games, so I would always talk to them and everything. And then just being a part of, obviously went to Mayfield schools, so I had a relationship with the varsity coach, and I would talk to him and everything. So it really just came down to playing with the guys that I had grown up with my whole life and playing with my best friends since I was little, and just playing for the city that I was from.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
So you were a 4-year starter. Can you take us back to your first varsity game and what that experience was like for you?
Mm-hmm. This is actually, it's weird because I played in there's 3 different games that like I got in the second game of the year against Nordonia. Just got in to play a drive, and obviously I was a 14-year-old at the time, a bunch of 18-year-olds. So it was it was just super fast, craziness. Everything going on was really fast. And yeah, I just got to play one drive. We went down, scored, threw a couple passes, nothing crazy, but so that was a success. Got in and got out real quick.
Yeah.
Nothing crazy. And then week I think 4 or 5, the starting quarterback got hurt like right before halftime against Chardon. And Chardon at the time had just won the conference. I think made the regional final the year before. And they had a linebacker that was going to Michigan State.
Yeah.
It was a stud, Chase Klein. And so we had a little package. I was going to go in this game, so I got to get in like the first quarter. Then our quarterback got hurt in the second quarter, and like we knew it was a pretty bad injury, so they knew from here on out, it was going to be me the rest of the way. So got in. I think my first pass I threw was a pick, which sucked.
Wow.
Chase Klein actually tipped it, so it got picked off. And then, they kind of pulled away. I think we lost like 34-17. But the second half was all right. Same thing. It was super fast, and everybody's a lot bigger than what you've ever experienced before.
Yeah.
And then the following week, my first actual start was against Kenston, who was, I think they had 1 loss at the time, ended up, being a really good team. We went in and we just dominated. I don't know what it was, but
wow.
It was 36-6, just dominated them. And, I'm the quarterback on the Kenston team is now one of my roommates at JCU, so I get to dog him about that all the time. We were playing each other, and I got the best of him that game.
Dude,
yeah.
That is so funny.
Yeah.
Wow. But I mean, 3 different experiences. I mean, especially going in as a freshman, you have all that pressure on you, and just to pull out like a big win, like that was probably just like a great feeling.
Yeah. It definitely helped that I mean, we had a ton of seniors on the team.
Yeah.
That was a lot of help, and like the guy that got hurt that was starting in front of me, he was just super helpful and like helped me throughout the whole all the weeks in practice and everything. So that was a big part of it.
Wow. So as a quarterback, you're obviously like a leader on and off the field. So how did you handle all that pressure throughout your time in like high school, and like especially like you had high expectations? Like how did that like relate to your success?
I think the pressure as I got like more reps and got more familiar with it, I think the pressure just lessened as time went on. I think at first it kind of helped going as a freshman because you don't have a ton of pressure. People don't have these crazy expectations. They're like, oh, he's only a 14-year-old kid. Like,
yeah,
he's probably not going to do anything crazy. So it's easier to exceed those expectations when you're younger. Than come like junior, senior year, that's when like, oh, this kid's been around for a while. He should probably be able to do something pretty good. So I think definitely there was more expectations later on. As for anybody would have those type of expectations, but I think just being able to get repetitions in and being able to play so many reps, have it all 4 years to play, really helped just alleviate the nerves and the pressure because I knew what was going to go on, knew how my day was going to go and everything. What was the rest of that question?
So the question was, as a quarterback, you were a leader on and off the field. Mm-hmm. How did you handle the pressure, especially with the high expectations that came with your success?
And I think the like off the field stuff, like not in the games, but I think just holding everybody accountable, like in the off-season workouts and kind of when they're on their own outside of football, and they're just trying to keep everybody responsible, doing the right stuff, and like that was kind of something that me and some other guys really took to heart. And we wanted to create a winning culture that that Mayfield had, and we were able to do that junior year. So we definitely did that for sure.
Wow, awesome. So I read a little article actually a few days ago. I mean, let's just talk about that workout group that like you had. I'm pretty sure it was like Luke Floria. You had the Isabellas. Like, I mean, how did that impact you and your football success? Yeah,
definitely, it was a huge impact on me. It was right about when COVID hit. I think that was going into when was that?
I think it's our senior year.
Okay, yeah, it was. So when COVID hit, going into our senior year, like that that spring before our senior year, that's when Andy reached out to me and he was like, "Hey, do you want to come like work out with us?" It was Andy Isabella, Joey Isabella, Jake Floria, who played quarterback here at John Carroll, Keyshawn Coleman, who played receiver here at John Carroll, and then Luke Floria, who's from Mentor and now plays at Kent State, who's a captain at Kent State. That was our group. Then we would work out. Classes were kind of not really structured, and so we were working out every day for a few hours a day, Monday through Saturday, and we all just became really close and worked really hard. And like obviously Andy's work ethic and his drive for the game definitely wore off on all of us, and we all have our own passion like for the game. And so I think we just really made each other better. And we would bring other people. That was the core, 6 of us. But then we would bring people in, from like other people we knew if they wanted to work out with us. So just we definitely, iron was sharpening iron there for sure. And that lasted like 2 years. During the season we all went and played our seasons, but then we came back after the season and still worked out after. And we still talk to each other all the time. I'll text Jake. Wow. Just had a baby a couple months ago, so wow. I talked to him about his baby and text Joey and Andy and Keyshawn and Luke and all them. So yeah, wow. It was a great group.
Yeah, no, that is awesome. Especially you have a great group of talent right there. So
totally.
And also, I think you were like the youngest of like that group too.
Yeah, I was the youngest, and then Joey and Luke were a grade above us. So
wow.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm sure just gaining all of that experience was truly invaluable for sure. Yeah. So, did you have any big pregame rituals or superstitions that help you get in the zone before like those big games?
The only one that I ever really had was started in high school. I would take a shower before every single game.
Really?
And I have no idea why I would do it, but I just had to do it. Before every game, I was taking a shower no matter what. If we were leaving school early, I would sign out of school early. I had to go home and take a shower.
Wow.
It was very weird, but I had to do it every single game.
Yeah, I actually don't know if I've ever ever heard that before.
No, yeah, I don't know why I did it, but wow. I just had to do it.
Did you have any like socks or like anything, any like eye black or?
Now that you say that, I did. I wore my socks the same way every single game. I wore 2 pairs of socks.
Okay,
two pairs of socks on each foot. Yeah.
Is that like normal for like football, like to wear 2 pairs of socks?
I don't think so. I don't. Yeah, no one else would do that. I don't know why I did that. 1 pair was inside out, 1 pair was normal.
Really?
Yeah. So that was definitely some superstitious stuff.
Which like would you wear like the inside out ones first and then?
Inside out ones would go on second, and I would flip over the Nike switch so it would be reflective on my ankles.
Wow. Okay.
More of a drip thing, but you could say it's superstitious.
Yeah, style.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. But so obviously you had a great senior year, and arguably the greatest quarterback in Mayfield history. I think you hold a few records, right?
There's a couple. I'm pretty sure that I hold.
Wow. Incredible. But what was the recruitment process like for you coming off that great senior season? And what led you to choose John Carroll University?
Mm-hmm. So a lot of it starts after it can start pretty early for football recruiting, but I think after your junior year, you have your camp season in the summer, and that's a big time for recruiting. That's when you got to get in front of a lot of coaches. And with COVID, that summer, I only got to go to 2 or 3 camps the entire summer, so that kind of hurt it. But it really came down to Case Western, Denison, and John Carroll. Okay. And they had shown me a lot of interest, and I was obviously interested in all those 3. Took visits to Denison and Case, and actually didn't take a visit to JCU. At the end of the day, it was close. It was close to home. I liked that. I had great academics, and there was the head coach at the time from John Carroll was Rick Finati, so he was a Mayfield guy. And all the Mayfield people really kind of knew him, so he had a great reputation. And I really wanted to play for him. And I still remember where I called him. I was at my buddy's house, and I called Coach Finati, and I was like, "Hey, I'm coming." And he was all jacked up and stuff. So wow. It was awesome.
Wow, that was probably just a great feeling too. Coaches, want like certain players, but like especially like from like the Mayfield area, like he's pretty well known, and just to hear like the star player just committed to his school. He was probably pretty happy about that.
Yeah, he was hyped up. He was a big factor in the decision.
Yeah. So your freshman year, you played quarterback, and then by 2022 you transitioned to wide receiver. What drove that decision, and what were the factors?
Mm-hmm. So I actually, my freshman year, came in as a quarterback, like you said, and then so we came in. There was 12 quarterbacks on the roster freshman year,
wow.
Which for anybody that doesn't know, that's a ton.
Yeah.
So I ended up actually switching after a week or 2 freshman year. So me, like a couple other kids switched as well. I was pretty low, really low on the depth chart. And they brought me into the office. They said, hey, like, if you switch to receiver, that you got a better chance of getting on the field. Just go be an athlete, really. And so I thought about it for a couple of days, talked to my parents, talked to the coaches one more time, and just made the decision, like, I'd rather do that and, like, take the chance of getting on the field rather than just sitting behind 10 other guys as a quarterback. And I think it definitely paid off, switching. I was able to play as a freshman, so that's something that doesn't happen to everybody, so that was a really big deal. It definitely showed me a different side of football. I had played quarterback for most of my life and all in high school and everything. So seeing the game from a different position was really interesting experience.
Yeah, like, so you mentioned that you got a few snaps, and like, what was like that first feeling, just like playing in like a D3 college football game?
I think it's a totally different vibe than the high school like games on Friday nights. I think I like it was just like going back to my freshman year of high school. Like, everybody's a lot bigger, everything's a lot faster, more complicated. And I think I was just so focused on like just make sure I know what I'm doing and doing that right.
Yeah.
and like getting back to the sideline and talking to your coaches was really important. You just had to figure out like what you were doing. Was anything wrong? Like, do we have to change anything? So I think just super intense, a lot more intense than high school, and that was probably the biggest difference.
Yeah, like John Carroll is almost like, I guess it's a little bit like similar to like a high school field, I would say.
The stadium wise, very similar to.
So like, would you say that like the atmosphere was kind of similar, or was it kind of different? Like, it just had like that college name to it.
I think honestly, I wasn't too locked in. I'm never too locked in on the atmosphere or anything. I try to just stay focused on the game.
Right.
But I think it was pretty similar to like a bigger high school football game. Like, like similar size for like a big D1 high school football game or something. I bet it was similar like environment.
Wow, awesome. Yeah, I know, because like I've always just like thought about that. Like, I come watch like John Carroll games, and I obviously have went to some high school football games when I was in high school. So I like never really knew if like there truly was like a difference to it, or if it was kind of like the same thing.
It's there's definitely, you could tell the difference, but I think like actually looking at the stands and like looking at the stadium, pretty similar vibe.
Wow.
Yeah. But on the field, you could tell there's a difference for sure.
Yeah. So I mean, like, one of like the craziest stories. I mean, it's not really crazy, but I mean, it's just something that kind of happened. But two of our good friends, Eddie Barch and Ricky Chilson, they played for BW. BW is kind of like the rival school for JCU, and it was cool because I remember, I think it was freshman year, you guys played BW at home, and I remember they were playing, then you were playing, and I'm pretty sure you caught like a touchdown pass in that game too. So that was awesome to see. And then also like our friends Eddie and Ricky were also playing too. So that was. And then I remember after the game, we all went on the field and got like a nice picture together. So I mean, that was just a great memory from our freshman year for sure.
Yeah, that was in one of the JV games. I remember on the Sunday morning games.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, I think I had to miss the Saints game to go watch this game. But listen, it's
a big deal for you.
Yeah, it is. Right. It was definitely worth it though. I mean, it was awesome. So what's like a crazy or funny story that happened during a game that most people wouldn't like know about, whether that's in high school or college?
I think one from high school. So our junior year, we had the final game was against Hope, and we ended up losing, but we were down with 2 minutes to go.
Yeah.
And we threw a touchdown on first. So we got the ball around our own 20. We threw a touchdown to take the lead, and the original play was we threw like a fade to the outside receiver, it was Ben Sherlock at the time. And the original play was like inside zone or some run play, and we switched the play right at the line. I went up to the line, told him, we got all the audible calls in and everything. So switched the play, and then that play was the one we scored an 80-yard touchdown on. So
wow,
that was pretty crazy. Going back to the sideline, like coach didn't even know that we were running that play. so that was pretty crazy.
Wow. Wow. I mean, listen, 80 yards. Like, listen, if you're in open space, like, the crowd is just going crazy and stuff. Like, it's probably just like a great feeling.
Yeah, it was an awesome feeling.
So, can you share a defining moment in your life that completely changed your perspective or path with the game of football?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. I think coming to John Carroll was definitely a pivotal moment, and obviously it's opened like so many doors. And I met so many people because of it, and that was definitely a pivotal moment like in my life. And obviously, I'll always like be from John Carroll from now on. But I think the biggest one was like getting hurt my freshman year. I had to redshirt my sophomore year, and then ended up getting surgery and had to get like all restructured in my foot. That's ultimately what made me stop playing. So I think So that's probably the biggest, most pivotal moment. Like, and I mean, it was sad to step away from the game, but at the same time, like, made me appreciate like coming to John Carroll and playing in high school and being able to play in a lot of games, being successful.
Yeah,
sure.
I'm sure we have like a ton of friends that played a college sport and ended up quitting. But I mean, like, one thing that like I always tell them, it's like, hey, like, at least like you like tried, like you like went out there, like you did it. I mean, there's a small percent of high school athletes that can play at the college level. And I'm pretty sure from the college level to the NFL, it's like 1%, which is crazy. So I mean, like obviously, you dealt with injuries and stuff, but I mean, man, you had a great career though.
I appreciate it.
It was awesome to be a part of and just watch it like unfold and all of that. Like it was just awesome to see.
I appreciate it.
So we do a little segment after every episode. It's called the quote of the episode. So pretty much I'll say like a quote from one of like your favorite players or a player from like your favorite team, and you'll pretty much talk about how this quote like relates to like your life. And then after this quote, you'll talk about a quote that you live by every single day.
I like it.
So, obviously, you're a big Steelers fan, so I chose Ben Roethlisberger.
Nice.
And the quote is, I take my life and put it on the football field, and I take the football field and I put it in my life. So how does this relate to you?
I think this kind of goes back to like when I started working out with Andy and kind of saw his like work ethic that like if you really want to be like good at football or be great at really anything, like you got to become kind of obsessive with it. And you got to make your entire life about it, and not in an unhealthy way, but you got to be mindful of like all the decisions you're making and how they're going to impact you, like trying to like chase that goal. And I think that's definitely something that I lived throughout high school and throughout the 2 years at JCU. I made sure that every decision I made was focused on like how could I be the best football player I could be, how could I be the best in my academics that I could be, how could I be like the best son, all that kind of stuff in my family. And I think just giving it everything you can. Being obsessive about it and being cognizant of every decision you make, and I think that's something I did and continue to do.
Yeah, I mean, listen, this guy right here, one of the smartest dudes I know too. I mean, listen, very smart, loves helping others. I mean, just an all-around great dude for sure. So what's a quote that you live by every single day?
One that I've heard in the past couple of years and like started to live by more and more is that it's never going to be the right time or you'll always be too busy. And I just think like if you're ever like scared to like do something or you think like, oh, I don't have time to do something or like it's just never the right time to like take action. You got to do it now or you never will because you're always going to be too busy to do something. You're always going to have other priorities. And if you're really passionate about something and really want to do it, you just got to rip it and pursue it.
It's true because a lot of people are kind of scared to act on like certain things. But listen, when opportunity presents itself, you really got to take full advantage of it.
Yeah, take advantage.
So that'll do it for this podcast episode. It was great having my boy Mike on this show.
Thank you.
Hopefully you had a great time on it.
Fantastic.
But yeah, that'll do it. And we'll see you in episode 4. Be sure to check out the other episodes if you haven't yet. But it was a great episode today, and we'll see you soon. Peace.
Peace.
What do you think?
That's it.
Really?
I like it.